Okay, I think let's see, I don't have this on yet. Okay, I think we'll get started here. I'm sure a few more will trickle in. As you guys come in, Doug, there's some handouts there on the seat if you want to grab one of those. So we're going to look at retirement tonight. And so some of you are in retirement, some of you are getting close, and some of you are so far away you can't even think about it, like these two over here. But the sooner you start thinking about it and planning for it, the better off you're going to be. And we've showed you that before, especially in line of the earlier you start saving and putting money away, the less trouble you're going to have later in life. The longer you wait, the more urgent and sometimes difficult it becomes for you. So better off starting at this age up here than at the age of some of you I won't even talk about. So, all right. So, yeah. There's some handouts right there if you guys want to grab those as you come in. So, okay, let's have a word of prayer and we'll jump in here. Father, as we begin to come close to the end of this study of finances, I pray, Lord, that our time together is going to be real profitable and helpful. Lord, as we think about retirement and what that might look like, we're looking at the issue of finances in retirement. And it's not something most of us want to think about, but we really should. So I pray that as we talk about these things, that we can get a good handle on them and a good understanding for those that don't have that. I pray in your name. Amen. Okay, we're going to start by looking at just the need for retirement. I just looked up online this week that most financial planners right now are recommending that you have $1 million saved for retirement, and most people do exactly what you did right there. Joyce, would you be in charge of when anybody shows up to make sure they get a handout? Yeah, just hit them with your crutch if they don't do it. So most of us just kind of huff at $1 million, but then you got these people like what's that gal that's online all the time? Bryant, is that her last name? And different ones. They're saying $1 million is nothing. You need $2 million. So after a little while, it's getting a little ridiculous for most of us to think about that kind of resources. Although if you plan it early enough, a lot of that could be actually taken care of. But right now, the average retirement account in America is $87,000. So if these, what is that gal's name? Last name is Bryant. She's who? Yeah, Anita Bryant. She's dead, but don't worry about it. Anyway, if the people are right, we need that kind of money. Then there's not very many people equipped to be ready for retirement. So $87,000 is the average retirement. 33% of Americans have zero saved for retirement, and 69% have less than $100,000. So that's of right now. So of course, that all depends on how close you are to retirement. So if you're Luke's age up here, that doesn't bother you a whole lot. You don't have over $250,000 saved yet, I don't think. But if you're 65 or so and that you don't have anything saved, but even the 87,000, you're looking down the barrel of some problems. So we want to try to look at that tonight. So in this lesson, we want to address how much you personally will need. Now, because the number is $1 million that these people put out, that doesn't mean you're going to need that much. Everybody's different. Everybody has different goals and financial needs and different lifestyles too. So that's something to consider. I've seen some people live. You let one of them get by, Joyce, without your crutch. Come on now. Okay. I've seen some people who make almost the exact same income, where one person lives comfortably and even able to save and so forth, and the next person can't do a thing. They're financially broke all the time. So it really isn't. We can't go by these statistics exactly. We have to look at what is our own life and our own needs and so forth. So we're going to look at that tonight. In addition, we want to examine the retirement instruments designed to prepare you for retirement. So first of all, let's start with Social Security. Let's see. Number one, Social Security. For the majority of Americans, the bulk of their income in retirement is Social Security. If for most people that is not enough, And that a lot of people need to remember that. The Social Security system was never designed to meet all your financial needs in retirement. It was designed to keep you from being totally destitute. As time has gone on since it first started, it's changed a great deal. The benefits have ballooned incredibly, but at the same time, not likely can you live on Social Security unless you're living on a poverty level. There are people I know in our own church who are actually living pretty much on their Social Security. They may have some other money available, but they don't use it unless they have to. But as far as their daily expenses are concerned, they live fairly comfortably. That's because their needs are small. They don't go out to Starbucks. They don't eat lunches out. They don't take trips. They don't buy a car except every 20 or 30 years, and so forth. So they have their houses paid off, those kinds of things. So they're able to have their expenses are very, very low, and as a result of that, they're able to get by. But even at that, you would have to really be very miserly to get by with just Social Security. But that is an important thing to know. Just a few things. Some of you know all about this, others may not. But it's important to plan ahead by reducing, first of all, as you get closer to retirement age, or thinking about retiring, that you are getting rid of all debt. So we talked about debt early on in these sessions. You need to get rid of all debt: consumer debt, credit card debt, car debt, and mortgages. You really, I got a number here somewhere, but you really ought not be going into retirement with a mortgage. And I lost that somewhere. I think it's about 25% of all people retiring these days have a mortgage. That's going to really crimp you. Even if the mortgage is old, maybe your pay is not that high, that's going to hurt you a lot. So be very careful that you plan ahead. I honestly don't think you're ready to try to think about retiring if you still have a mortgage under most circumstances. So I'm not going to talk about reverse mortgages tonight. Doug's going to do some stuff next week on estate planning and stuff. He works with that. I don't know if you might touch what that means next week or not necessarily.
I'm going to deal mostly with what happens when you end up having to go to a nursing home.
Things like that.
Medicaid, and maybe a little bit on wills and trusts.
Okay, that'd be nice to at least kind of talk about wills and trusts. But reverse mortgages are a product that's come up where if you own a house, you're running out of money, you can go to the bank and they can give you a reverse mortgage, so they start paying you a certain amount every month for whatever years, and that it reduces the equity in your house over time, so that eventually your house is worth nothing if you live long enough. For some people, that might actually work for you because it helps you if you have no other resources. But I would recommend that most people, if you have family members, for example, looking at that, to be very, very careful. It's a very expensive product. It can really hurt people in the long run, and I would encourage you not to do that if you don't have to. But everybody's life is a little different, so you can't cookie cut it necessarily. Oh, there it is.
Gary,
Yeah.
What do they do on those reverse mortgages if the person lives past its value?
Well, I would understand if there's no value left, they're not going to give you money.
No, but I mean, you'd have to leave because they probably own it.
They would own the house eventually. You might have to. Yeah, you eventually lose the house, so or your heirs will. So, yeah. Well, you're going to have to go somewhere. Maybe work out a deal to stay there and pay something. But now you're back to the situation where you're not getting money in, you're paying money out. Now you're 90 years old, and so that can be a real problem. Yeah, it is 25%. I knew that I had that number somewhere. 25% of Americans over age 75 had a mortgage in 2022. So a quarter of people retiring over 75 still have a mortgage. So that's not good financial planning. You shouldn't. Hopefully, you won't have to do that. Just some information: people can start taking Social Security at age 62, under normal circumstances. That's the earliest age you can do it, unless there's some kind of a medical need or something. There's some stipulations on that. But most are fully vested, you might say. They reach their maximum age of retirement. Whatever you call that.
67.
at 67, if you're younger, if you're a little old, older, the younger ones, next generation up is going to be 68. They're- Yeah, so they're going to keep moving that marker. So, that's when you are topped out in that sense. Now, you can continue to work and put money aside till you're age 70, and that's where you get your optimum amount of income from Social Security. Now, you can work after age 70, and as you continue to work and pay in, that'll increase your benefits. But there's no reasonable reason to not take your benefits by age 70. So that's what is best. And if you're married, most financial planners recommend that the spouse with the less income and the lowest Social Security benefits begins to take their benefits at age 62. And then the ones with the higher benefits keep it to age 70. And at some point, the person with the lower amount, the one who retired at 62, once you hit your maximum age, 67, you can now take half of the spouse's benefits who is making more money. So, for example, let's say you're at 62 and you're starting to get $500 a month for Social Security. So you started to take that. Your husband, let's say, is now making he's going to get $2,000 at age 67. At age 67, you can bump yours up to half of his, approximately. So you bump it from 500 to 1,000. So those are things
Is that a
you can do.
recent change? Because, when we did it, Dawn did it young, and I took it young because we didn't want to spend our 401k. And she had to take a percentage of half of mine at full because she took it before her full retirement.
There's a formula. I'm giving you basic numbers of half. There's a formula of hers plus part of yours that brings it up close to half. So at that point, so yeah. And by the way, on this, these laws are changing constantly. Every year, something changes. So there was a glitch. I don't know if you guys got into it. I found this by reading a book. I bought a $10 book and made $5,000 on the book. Good investment. There was a glitch for a while where I could take money personally. If I was fully working, but I could take money off of Marcia's Social Security. I could take half of her Social Security when she was 62, and I was getting a check for that. But that's gone now. It was just a little glitch for a while that is now gone, as far as I know. So I got lucky on that one. It wasn't a whole lot of money, but something. Scott?
When my dad was retired and I was under 18, I was able to get some funds too from that.
Under
I don't know if
18?
that's still in play or not today.
Yeah, I really don't know on that one. There's disability payments, not disability, but if a parent dies, then children can get quite a lot of Social Security when they're under 17 years old.
Or in
So-
college. I got it when I was in college.
Can they do that still?
I don't know.
I
I
don't-
was in college a long time ago.
Yeah. The last I knew, it had to be 17 or under to get it, but that keeps changing. Keep moving on. But Social Security is a pretty good program in a lot of ways, so make sure you're doing the best on that. Here's one more thing to mention on that. A lot of people want to start taking their Social Security at 62 because that's free money, right? So we want to get that money as quickly as we can. And so some people, they need to do that because of their financial situation, and it really helps them. But for every year you delay taking your Social Security benefits from age 62 to age 70, it goes up 8% every year. So think about that. Does that come out to 64%? You'll get more at 64% more at 70 than you would if you took it at 62. That's a lot of money. Now the game here on that everybody has to play is how long am I going to live? You know. So if I know for sure I'm going to live to be 90, then that's a no-brainer. But if I got bad genes in my family, and all I do is eat chocolate and that kind of stuff, ice cream and that kind of stuff, and never exercise, and I have diabetes and 5 other diseases, and I may not make it past 73 anyway, what's the harm of taking it early, right? So that always has to be played out. But if you don't need the money, if you really could live without the money, the longer you wait, the better. And I'd recommend you do that. Okay, so that's that part.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just real quick, there was a law change in December. It was called the Windfall Elimination Act was repealed.
Okay,
So this affects people that may not have paid into Social Security for some of their employment, but they might be getting a pension. So this would be teachers, it could be people that, let's say you were a teacher and your spouse was a state worker, and then maybe there was a divorce that happened. So now that person, that teacher might be able to receive spousal benefits from the Social Security. So people that are especially like firemen, police officers, teachers, civil servants that may not have paid fully into Social Security can be a benefit for them.
yeah,
This might affect like Mike Sanchez, could affect the Mings, it affects me, so, and
Yeah.
maybe Alice too, yeah. So this is a big thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you need that number, I do have it if you want.
okay, yeah. Now, that was just passed, like you said. I'm not even sure it's gone into effect yet, has it?
It is,
Has it gone into effect now?
Effect, but
Yeah,
Is that federal or state?
the state is not,
it's federal.
they don't know how to handle it.
yeah, it's kind of complicated.
That's what they told me.
Did it? So you haven't gotten anything for it yet?
No,
Okay. Yeah, when it came out, I know there's a lot of questions how it's gonna work, but, looks like some extra benefits for a lot of people. So always look for all the benefits you can get. Talk to people that are in the know on those kinds of things, and watch the laws, check on them, they just change, and sometimes for the better. Hopefully that keeps happening. Okay. Okay, so that's Social Security. The second thing is, I should have put that up there earlier. Okay, the second thing is traditional IRAs, or individual retirement accounts. Now, when the retirement system, the IRA system started, I think back in the 70s, I believe, there was no Roth. I'm going to get to that in a minute. There was traditional. The idea was that if you start putting money away for retirement, and you put it away tax deferred. So let's say, so right now, most of you can put away up to $7,000 a year, and that comes out of your income tax. You don't have to pay taxes on that money. So that's tax deferred. So that means you're putting that money away, and when you get older, right now at 73 you buy 73, you have to start taking it out. And if you start taking it out, then you pay taxes on it. Originally, the idea back in the 70s probably was a good idea. You're now in a higher tax bracket because you're working full time than when you will be when you're retired, where you're not getting any income from work, and you'll be in a lower tax bracket at that time. That has not necessarily proven to be true for most people. A lot of people are in a higher tax bracket now than they were back when they were working. Partly because the tax brackets have creeped up at times. Well, Trump keeps talking about dropping it back down again, but Zelensky said he didn't want to do that, so I don't know. Don't know. Is that a burn? We don't know what's going to happen with that stuff. But so a lot of people, because they planned ahead and the other things we're looking at here, they're actually in a higher tax bracket. So they get to retirement age, and one of the biggest concerns they have is how to get that money out without paying a ton of taxes. And there's not many loopholes there. So you just have to think about the day of reckoning comes where you're going to have to pay taxes on this money, so plan ahead. So if you have a good stash of money put away in an IRA, remember about 15 to 20% of that belongs to the government. And when you take it out, it goes back to them. There's a couple loopholes, I might mention those, but there's not many. So that's, right now, IRA is not a form of taxes, or a form of investment. It is a kind of a bucket, so to speak, in which you have investments. So you, in an IRA program, plan, you can get those from Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab. Jim has those kind of programs. All sorts of places have these programs. So if you had an IRA account, then you can invest in all sorts of things to put in there. Almost everything can be put in those IRA accounts. The laws keep changing on that too, on what you could do. I think that you can put gold in there now. Do you know about that, Jim, or not?
There are things like that. You just have to be really careful what you're putting in.
Yeah.
That's a question I get all the time. Should I invest in gold or silver? And the issue is, are you investing in a mine? Are you investing in mineral rights?
Right.
Are you investing in physical gold or silver? Be careful.
Yeah.
That one's hard.
Another one is different kind of commodities and stuff. So if you can't put your rifle collection in the IRA, at last I heard. So I'm sorry, Kurt. Of course, you got pistols. Maybe you can put those in there. There's certain things you can't do. But the major things, stocks, bonds, mutual funds we've been talking about, money markets, all those things we've been going through, all those you can stick into an IRA account. So it's just kind of a bucket to put these things in. Right now, the limit as of this year is you can put $77,000 a year into an IRA. If you're over 50, this number's wrong, 65 is not the number. If you're over 50, you can put in 8,000. They call it catch up because they know most people didn't do it earlier like they should have, so they're going to let you catch up and put some more money in there. So if you're able to do that, putting money in those kind of things, you can gain quite a little bit by putting that much money away every year. This is usually the second tier of investing for most people. And I didn't even have on this, but I'm going to throw it in here. The other tier is pensions. So pensions are going the way of the dodo bird. Very, very few organizations have pensions anymore because they can't afford them. Just can't afford them. The only people that have them pretty much today is government. So you that are working for the state or the feds, you are the last standing. And of course, the state of Illinois is going bankrupt because of the pensions, among other things. So hopefully you get your pension. But don't over plan on that. You might have some reduction one of these days. We'll have to see. But so far so good, even though they're hardly funded at all, they're still paying out the benefits. So if you have a pension, you're blessed, really. And the state government gives out very, very lucrative pensions for people, and you're the last of the standing to do that. They shifted to 401ks in any other industry, and I'll get to those in just a moment. But an IRA, I don't know if I have anything else on the IRA here. Taxes will be paid when the funds are taken out at that time. Now, at age 73, you have to start taking out the required minimum distribution. Now, if you're around old people, you'll hear this required minimum distribution talked about all the time. It's the big deal. The MRD, what's your MRD? What are you going to have to pay out here this year? And you have to take a certain amount of money out of your IRAs every year, or you're going to get not only taxed, but you're going to get penalized pretty heavily. So you really don't have any choice on that. So that's what the IRAs require.
Gary,
Yes.
do Roth IRAs have an RMD?
No. So that's I'll get to that right now. So
The government doesn't need its taxes.
okay, well they do, but
That's why they want.
yeah, it's a different program. So somewhere along the line, I'm not sure what year Roth started, if anybody knows. More recently, huh?
I think it's been a while, but
Been a while, but it's been like within the last 20 years, maybe.
it's a while. My age, that's a while.
Yeah. So the government started looking around. Financial people started looking around and say, "Wow, this traditional IRA is going to cost people a lot of money one of these days." And so let's come up with a different plan. So they came up with a plan called a Roth IRA, and the Roth IRA is structured differently. When you put money in a Roth IRA, and you can put up to $7,000 or $8,000 a year. When you put money in there, it's not tax deferred. So you're putting money in after you paid the taxes on it. But when you take it out, there's no taxes. So you pay up front taxes, and you don't have any money coming out, no taxes coming out when you take it out. It's just the opposite of how it's structured for the traditional. So this is a program that a lot of people are using. There's no requirement of withdrawal for that money unless you die. And then your heirs have to, I think, start taking it out within 10 years. So they're going to get their money from the heirs. But I don't think you have to pay taxes on it, but you do have to get it out. Let me stay with that for just a minute. What am I doing?
There's no taxes on the gains on that too, correct?
Okay, good point. In both accounts, both traditional and Roth, it's accumulating without taxes. Okay, Now, if, in the IRA, the traditional IRA, you're gonna pay taxes on the gains. But in a Roth IRA, the money is accumulating without any tax detriment at all. That's what makes a Roth pretty valuable if it fits for you. I'll talk about who should do what in just a second. Scott?
What if you exceed the 8,000 a year, are you gonna?
You'll be penalized. You'll be penalized on that. You can't go over the top or you'll get penalized. I did that one year, accidentally put money in the wrong year. It took me about 2 months to get it fixed with the mutual fund people, so I don't want to do that again. But
Is it severe penalties or just?
I'm not sure what the number is, but you don't want to pay even 10 or 15% for no good reason. You know, like a Jim?
There's a loophole with doing what's called a backdoor Roth. You can, if you had significant dollars you wanted to move to a Roth, you can do some things, but it is some maneuvering. So it's not easy, it's more complex.
Yeah. You'd have to have somebody guide you on something like that. So just try to do it the traditional way, the normal way, and you won't have much problem with that. But okay, which is better, a traditional or a Roth? And the answer is, who knows? It really depends. The goal of the traditional is you're in a high tax bracket, and you don't have to pay taxes on that money this year. Okay, so if you're in a 33% tax bracket, is that the highest now? If you're in a 33% tax bracket, then you don't have, and you put $7,000 away or something. A third of, you don't have to pay taxes on that this year, and that takes away a lot of tax liability for you on $7,000. That would take away over $2,000 of taxes you'd have to pay this year. That make sense? So you can avoid those taxes now, push them off for another day, and then maybe you will be in a lower tax bracket someday, and that's a better time to take it out. The Roth, on the other hand, you're not getting any tax benefit. So if you're a low income person, you're in a low tax position, and you're not making a lot of money right now, the Roth is definitely the way to go. Okay, a lot of people who have the resources do both. They'll have a traditional and they'll have a Roth, and you can do that. You can also have a spousal IRA. I should mention that. So this came about later, I think, in the process. So let's say you're putting away $7,000 a year for IRA for yourself. Your spouse does not work. Okay, she's at home taking care of the kids, so she does not work. You could,
Outside the home.
well, for money, gotta say that just right. She's not making any money. Let's put it that way. You can still give her a Roth. You can still get her a Roth or traditional IRA at $7,000 a year, even though she's not working. That didn't used to be the case. Because right now, if you're trying to do an IRA, you have to be making income, at least that amount of money to do it. So if you have no income, then you can't not do an IRA, which you probably wouldn't want to do anyway. But that's it. Yeah, Heather.
Okay, so I have a question related to that. So let's say you have, and like, let's say both Garrett and I have Roth IRAs, right? And like right now I'm contributing, but potentially in the future, like become a stay-at-home mom or something. Do I have to do something to change that,
No.
or can he just contribute?
Yeah, you may have to. What you'd probably have to do is that's your IRA.
Yeah.
So probably the best thing for him to start a separate spousal IRA that he would put in there. I don't know that you can commingle it very easily. You could have to check with your company that you work with, but it'd probably be better just start a new one.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
Scott?
We have it that way. I have my Roth IRA and Lori has hers in her name.
Right.
You couldn't combine them.
Well, she already has one in her name.
Right, but
Does
we
Lori-
tried to do it at first and they wouldn't let us put both names on it.
No, not both
They
names.
won't they definitely
Not
won't.
both names. I mean, if
Like, I was wondering if you could convert it.
convert
right?
it to a spousal.
'Cause if I'm fully employed and working, I'm contributing to my Roth IRA right now. But in the future, should that change, do I have to, that's why my question, like,
Right.
should I convert it, or like, and Pastor Gary's saying I should probably get it. But I
Probably do
have
a
to
spec.
ask.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not hard to start another one. Okay, the only loophole, just for those a little older, about the only loophole to not have to pay taxes on your minimum required distribution is if you give those funds to a charity or a church or something like that. If you send that directly to a church our charity, you don't have to pay taxes on that. And that's really quite a loophole. So, if you're giving money to a church already, say you're giving $10,000 a year to our church, and you now are taking a minimum required distribution, you could have that come out of your IRA and go directly to the church, and you don't have to pay any taxes. That's a really good choice. So if you're in that situation,
70 and a half.
huh?
When you're 70 and a half, you can do that.
That's right. You have to be 70 and a half years old to start doing that, or at least 70.
70 and a half.
Okay.
I believe.
So if you're there, that's very good for you. There's no sense taking the money out, paying taxes on it, then giving it to the church, our charity. Save money. Okay. Okay. The other one, the last one I'll mention here before we move on to some other things is 401ks. 401k account is a retirement savings plan that allows employees to contribute a portion of their paycheck to a tax-deferred account within their company they're working for. And they are, one of the good things about 401ks is a lot of places will match your contribution up to a point. And I don't think there's any rule how much they have to do, but some places, if you put, let's say $1,000 in your account, they'll put $1,000 too. So that's a very good plan. This is what all companies have shifted to, from pensions to 401ks, and the onus is on you now to take care of your future. And that's really good if people will do it, but a lot of people won't do it.
But if the company goes belly up, you still got your money.
Yes, you do.
That's the advantage over a pension.
Yeah, that's true, but again, the only ones that have pensions are government. They're never going to bankrupt, right?
Well, I mean, Bonnie had a pension until the early 90s, and they converted. And so I was glad when it happened. If they go away, I still have that money.
Yeah, that money's in the outside account. It's not in the company.
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, 401ks, if you work in a company that has one, most do, you definitely want to get involved in that. They take the money right out of your paycheck. That's what's good about this. And the people who can't save a dime, and they start taking $100 a paycheck out of your paycheck or whatever, you don't even know it's gone. It's gone. You don't even see it, and that can accumulate very rapidly over time if you do it. And don't be tempted to go in there and rob it. Most people don't know, kind of like they do with all the stuff we've been talking about. They're putting money in a 401k, in some kind of fund. They don't even know what the fund is. When I talk to people about this, most of them don't know what they're invested in. They don't know where it's going. They just know it's in a fund. And that's not a good practice. That's what we're doing this class for, so you can get educated, so you know where the money ought to go. But that's another day. But the 401ks are very helpful. They're not taxed until the money is withdrawn, just like an IRA, a traditional IRA. Some people have, like I have, I think the teachers do too, don't they, 403Bs? It's essentially the same, little difference, but it's, for some reason, that was set up originally for teachers and some government employees, but somehow pastors got in on that too. So we can't do a 401k, but we can do a 403B. Yeah.
We had that for the hospital when I was at the hospital when I started.
Did they?
It was a 403B, and then they got a 401k for us.
Okay.
And I was able to roll over my pension into a 401k.
Yeah, that's what they're making people do now. Anyway, that's good. Yeah. Dan?
Is it not taxed to the heirs when death comes?
No, it is.
It is taxed then?
Yeah, the traditionals and the 401ks, they are going to get their money somewhere along the line. So that is something to remember. Let's say you're really thinking you're going to leave a hunk of change to your kids, and they get your 401k or the IRA, and then they find out they've got to pay taxes on 25% of that. They don't like that too much. But there's nothing you can do about it unless you plan ahead with some other things that we can talk about a little bit. But there's not a lot you can do. You're going to have to pay that money one day or the other, one way or the other. Just have to remember that. Withdrawals, by the way, on these, I should mention, withdrawals from the IRAs, our 401ks cannot be taken before you're 59 and a half without penalty. So it's not like a savings account. You're putting money away for long term, and it's a savings account for the future. So you have to be 59 and a half to take it out without a 10% penalty, which is pretty substantial. And I've known people that do that. I know people who've never been able to save money. They suddenly open up their account and find they have $100,000 in a 401k, and they can't resist, so they go out and spend it on a car or in a few other things, and then they don't realize they don't have their retirement stuff anymore. They can take it out, but they paid a big penalty, they paid taxes, they lost 30-some% of their money right up front, and then their retirement is dinged in the future. That's not a good plan. These are retirement accounts. Leave it in the retirement account.
Can the IRA monies be transferred to a Roth?
Yes, they can, but you have to pay the taxes.
Oh, okay.
So let's say you transferred 100,000 from traditional to a Roth, you'll pay taxes at that point. So you can't really escape it. Some people will do that because as they get older, they realize they would like to do it now rather than leaving it to their heirs to pay that money. And if they have the money to do it, they might make that transfer. But it is you're going to pay the taxes. Scott?
But you'd wanna do that over a period of time if you have that ability.
Well, most people would. So you spread out the taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when the market goes down 40% this summer, like they say, that's the time to convert.
Yeah. So when the market crashes, do it, right? Because you don't have any money left anyway, so why not get it over with, right? Okay. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding
Yeah.
correctly. A 401k, you will only do that with an employer?
Yes.
If your employer doesn't offer it, you can?
That's right. Yeah, that's a company deal. So if you're self-employed, for example, you can't do a 401k. You'd have to do an IRA. Okay? Okay, let's move on a little bit and try to figure out how we can handle all this. After you have looked at these instruments, the next step is to determine how much income you'll need when in retirement. Now, this is really important. And so can you see this beautiful chart right here? Now, that's in your hand. Okay? So this has been all typed out for us by Linda Kessner. No, I'm sorry. That is not true. That is not true. This is what's in your hand. It's a TIAA retirement budget worksheet. Okay. I don't know what this is, to tell you the truth. We're going to come up on that later, but this is what we got tonight so far. So this is not something you're going to do in class. Okay, this is something I really, really, really encourage you to go home this week and sit down, and especially if you're getting older, you're getting close to retirement or even in retirement, and figure out a budget for your retirement years. What do you really need to live on? And to be honest with yourself about that. So notice on this sheet that on the left-hand side, left-hand side, you've got certain things that are essential budget items. These are things almost everybody has to pay. And so, and some of these are going to have to be guesswork. So for example, under health care, eye doctors and glasses, and that kind of thing, dental. Some of that is guesswork. And also it can change because you say, well, I go to the dentist once a year, pay $120 for a cleaning, and then the next thing you know, you bite into a rock piece of candy, and you got a $2,000 crown coming. So there's no perfect way to know about some of that. But you can take some good guesswork, clothing and so forth. So it'd say, well, I don't need any clothing at all, but most people do buy some socks once in a while, and other things, unmentionables I won't bring up. You might, if you're a clothes hound, you may want to put a big budget in there. If you're a person that can live with the 1970s style, and you don't care, Vern Clanton, where are you when we need you? Vern hasn't bought a shirt over $1 in 35, 50 years. Matter of fact, I went to his house one day to do something, and he came out to meet me at the car, and I got out, and he had a shirt on with the $1 price tag still hanging from it, which I'm sure he did on purpose. Yeah, and he's got polyester pants that will never die throughout all eternity. When the earth is burned up, these will simply melt. So, but anyway, if you're wherever you are, Vern, if you're listening, we love you, buddy. But anyway, be honest with yourself about that. But look at these things. What are your utilities, maintenance, household stuff, property taxes? A lot of that you can get a pretty good number currently. So go back to your budgets. Look at your checkbooks, all that kind of stuff, and try to figure that out. That goes over to the next page as well. And when you're done with that left-hand column, this is the money you pretty much have to subsist. Okay? So if it comes out to be, let's say, $3,000, then you know you've got to come up with $3,000 somewhere every month to live. Okay, so you know that. The other side, the right-hand side, are these discretionary items. These are things you might like to do, but you wouldn't have to do if you didn't have the income. So new purchases are there, for example, meals, eating out and entertaining. Right now, you might eat out 3 times a week, and you're paying $200 a week to eat out. And that's a bunch. Let's say a month, $200 or $300 a month to eat out. But in retirement, you don't necessarily have to do that. So that in that sense is discretionary. See? Huh? Can I make sure your wives look at this? And then at the bottom on that one, there's travel, vacations, and so forth. So I know some people believe that taking a vacation every year is an inalienable right. It's in the Constitution somewhere. You got to do it, but it really isn't. So if you can do it, more power to you. Enjoy your vacations, enjoy your trips, but they are discretionary items. If you don't have the income, you don't really have to go to Mexico or Europe or wherever you want to go. So those are discretionary. But you might write them in there saying, you know, I'd like every year to take a trip at $4,000. I'll budget for $4,000 for vacations and trips. Put that in there. If that's your goal, if that's what you want to do. A lot of people in retirement do want to travel. But put that in there at least as a discretionary. And then you got your gifts and holidays on the next page. Notice under charitable contributions, there is both the essential and the discretionary. So you might say, well, I want to definitely give X number of dollars a month for contributions. But if I do well, if my finances are good, I'd like to give this much more. And so that's a charitable contributions there, gifts, so forth. So add up that column as well. So let's say the essentials is $3,000. That's the wrong chart. $3,000 that you have to have on the discretionary. You come up with $2,000. Okay, that means in order to live on the way you want to live, you would need $5,000 a month income. That makes sense, Kim?
And that doesn't include inflation for the year.
No, this is just starting out. This is a beginning budget.
So it's gonna get bigger.
It's going to get bigger as time goes on, probably. Although inflation is a number that is a general number, doesn't affect everybody equally. So many retired people that I know of, their expenses are going up very minimal. They're not paying bigger mortgages. They're not buying new cars. They're not traveling. Their food prices are going up some, and that kind of thing. But some of them aren't going up very much. But you have to look at that because inflation is real, and we do have to look at that. So I had the numbers together. $5,000 might be yours. So I can't do this for you. You have to do it for yourself. On the next page, the third page, I think you all got that. There's some explanations, some footnotes, so to speak, things to consider as you're writing this out. I definitely encourage everybody to do this, to think about what it's going to be, especially if you're, let's say, at least mid-ages, you're approaching 50, and you're looking at what it was going to cost you to live in the future. And these can be adjusted. I keep one of these in a book where I keep my finances. I go over it and redo it about every year because things are changing for me, and they will for you too. Okay. Now, any questions on that? That's the budget. This is a retirement budget projection for the future. Okay. The next thing is, I don't know why I don't have this in here. I didn't get down here apparently. Okay, never mind. The next thing is to decide where's your money coming from. And I thought I had a slide for this. It's supposed to be number 160. Edwin said I can find it right like this. Let's see. Edwin lied to me. What did he lie to me for? Okay, let me try one. Control. I don't know how to make my computer work. Okay, I'll do it the old-fashioned way. I thought it's supposed to be number 160.
There you
That isn't what I wanted, though. Okay. Anyway, so here's 4 or 5 sources of income. So you got a $5,000 a month budget. Where's that money? What money do you have coming in? What's your source of income? So here are the 4 or 5 things where you have money coming in. Number 1, Social Security. How much is your Social Security? If you're married, the combined Social Security. Now keep in mind, if your spouse dies, if you're married, your spouse dies, and you are the lower income person, you will automatically get his benefits. So if you're getting $1,000 a month let's say the wife's getting $1,000 a month, the husband's getting $4,000 a month, and he dies, you get his $4,000.
All 4,000? Why am I keeping you around?
That's why we get rid of these guys, right? Now, if the wife dies first, he has to take your 1,000 and get rid of his. That's not true.
I thought it was only half of his.
That's what I've been telling her.
That's what.
And she continues to get her own,
No, she just bounces up to his.
bounces up to his, so
So
she's
she
gone from
doesn't
5,000
get
to
5,000.
She doesn't get both. She just gets his. She can get the highest one she wants.
Okay.
So that puts the wife in a better shape. But even there, you were getting $5,000 a month between the two. Now you're getting 4. So it is lower, but at least it's better, right? That's why there's a lot of men don't live as long. Go to a nursing home. There's 100 old ladies and 3 old men. Yeah. And of course, I told you about the story with the old ladies come down when the old man's wife dies. All the ladies in the complex come down with the casseroles. They want to get married late in life, So, okay, Social Security, pensions, number 2. Yeah. Yes. What?
Please define old lady.
Much older than you. Much older than you. At least 95. At least. But that puts poor Doris. Doris got it anyway. I'm sorry. 100? Okay. Tell you what, would you go ahead and, let's see. Pat, go ahead and start passing those out, okay? Your other thing is your 401ks, your IRAs, and any other source of income. So with this worksheet I just gave you a moment ago, this is another worksheet. That worksheet I gave you 4 minutes ago, you need to go back in and figure out what is your projected income at this time. Okay, so you might find that you're in pretty good shape with Social Security and your IRAs, but you need to know that. Yeah.
Okay, so is there a maximum you can withdraw from your IRA?
No.
When you're in retirement?
No, you can withdraw as much as you want.
Okay, but you have to start withdrawing at age 73.
73.
No matter
Right.
Okay.
But there's a minimum amount you have to draw. You don't have to draw it all. Okay.
But there is a minimum. Do you know what that is, or is it different?
It's about 4%. Okay, it'll start at about 4%,
Okay,
but that's a rough,
yeah,
because there's a formula. But it increases, the older you get,
the more you have to.
the more your percentage is going to raise, because they want that money. So if you live to be 90, the percentage is going to be much, much higher.
Okay.
It starts at about 4%.
But that's for all IRAs?
Yeah. So you can combine them. You can combine them, but you have to take the minimum required.
But not for Roth or for Roth?
Not for the Roth. You do not have to take money. Never have to take money out of a Roth if you don't want to. So Roth becomes a pretty good deal for a lot of people. Okay, so let's say you got $3,000 a month Social Security. Let's say you don't have a pension. Let's say you're getting $1,000 a month from your IRA, $1,000 for the 401k. So you got it covered. You got just from those sources alone, you've got enough money, maybe. But you have to know that. You have to look at that and do those numbers, see where you are. You have something, Jim?
So they calculate that when you're 72, the December 31st of the year you're 72, that's the amount that they divide. So that's what the marker is.
Okay.
The first year they'll divide by 26.5, second year is 25.5, then the next year is 24.6, and they continue doing that until you're depleted. But the good news is the market tends to bring
Yeah.
back a lot of that.
Yeah, it does,
So
hopefully. So I've been taking, out of my, I've got one account, I've been taking money out for several years that is now higher than it was when I started because it's in the market. So I don't know how that's gonna work long term. You know, of course, one day we'll get that 40% crash like Kim wants, and, that'll take care of all those needs, right? But, yeah, so they have a formula, and, it's based on your age, and it's based on that formula, and that changes each year. And whoever you have your money with, your IRA, the institution, they will let you know every year how much you're required to take. So they'll send that to you, and that's a help. You don't necessarily have to figure it yourself, although there are calculators. Okay, so now you have your total budget. You have your, let's say $5,000. Let's say you have $4,000 coming in. This is round numbers. That means you got to fill a $1,000 gap year one. Okay, so that just gets you started into this. Now, this on the other sheet, maybe we're going to have you take it home. Take this home. This is a complicated sheet. I almost didn't give it to you because it is complicated. And some of you just, unless you're like math, you'd say, I'm not going to do this. This is nuts. But if you want to really know more, so you can figure here on this retirement needs worksheet, your gross income multiplied by the percentage you'll need. So the guesswork depends on the person. You'll need 80% of your current income in retirement. Okay, at first anyway. So if you're making, in this example on the right, you're making $78,000 a year now, you'll need $60,000 a year in retirement. This is all depends on you and your lifestyle, but these are general things, which would mean that you need and in this case the person's getting $20,000 a year Social Security, and that leaves them a $40,000 gap, and this is a thing that kind of blow your mind. We'll get to this in a minute, but they're recommending then that you have $1 million saved up to cover that gap. A lot of money, right? Okay. Now let's go on a little bit. How much will you need to invest to have that $1 million? This goes back to what we talked about before. The rest of this kind of looks at that. Your IRAs and 401ks and so forth, putting away money. Right now you have, I'm going to come back to this, so I just want you to go home with it. We'll come back and go slower. But if you have $56,000 saved now, then what is that going to, if you put that in investments, what's it going to look like 20 years from now? If you've got 20 years to go, on the back page, next page, there's a calculation table in which you can figure out how much that money will be worth at a certain amount of percentage. So let's look at the middle column, 6%, and you have 20 years to go. Well, actually, on this particular guy, this example, they had 6% at 25 years. See that? The middle column, 6%, 25 years. You've got, right now you have $56,000. How much would that money be worth in 25 years? The calculation they made is $236,000. On the next page then, and I know I'm just overwhelming you here, so don't get too excited. The next page is, okay, how much more money are you going to need to save to meet your goal? And so this is a calculation page for the same thing. So look at the example at the bottom. You're saving $2,000 a year on IRA in this case. You have a $10,000 401k, another account of $2,000. So your annual contributions is $14,000. Again, this is just an example. Then you multiply that by 54.9. So go back up to your chart. Look at 6% and 25 years. And then you multiply that in 14,000 by 54.9. You come up with $768,000. When you combine those two together, the $768,000 and the $236,000, you come up with about $1 million. So that's how they're doing that.
People who start out doing math on that in the early years, they're going, there's no way. Most of your growth happens in your last few years.
It does.
You know, so
Compound
it'll
interest.
I mean, the curve just goes like this.
Yeah.
Up and top.
So going back to something we talked early on, the magic of compound interest. So what I read yesterday, Warren Buffett, the greatest investor of all time, supposedly, his investment, well, I got the wrong number. His investment since he started his company is like, shoot, I forget now, 600,000% that he's made. Huh?
I've got it, I can get it.
Run it up real quick. So, and you say, that's crazy, that's astronomical. How can you have a $600,000 thing? Compound interest. Your money grows on the money that you save, which grows on the money you save, which grows and grows. And when it's all said and done, I mean, think about that. So most people get their wealth from planning ahead early, putting money away. And then when you first start out, just like you said, $2,000 a year, what is that? Nothing. But over time, and then, as Kim just said, most people's financial growth goes up in the last 10 years or so. That's where a lot of the accumulation takes place. When you got all the debt out of the way and you're able to let this compound work for you. So on this sheet, I'll go back over it next in a couple of weeks. But on this sheet, just kind of look at this, kind of play with it, look at your own life and so forth, and see if that's helpful to you. So when people say, well, I can't possibly think about $1 million. First of all, you may not need anywhere near $1 million. Look at your own financial thing. But the point of this is, what I just gave you, you're figuring out your budget for year one of retirement. But if you lived another 20 years, inflation and stuff is going to change all that. And you're going to need more and more and more. So you got to plan, not for the first year, but for the 20th year out as well. So that you don't somewhere run out of money and when you don't want to run out of money. What's your number?
So he puts it in his annual report, Berkshire Hathaway's annual
Yeah.
report, and compares the S&P 500 over the same amount of years from 1960, when he started the company, 1965 to present year. And over that time period, the S&P 500 has gone up 39,054%.
Now, the thing about that for just the S&P 500, which I recommend to everybody to start with as a mutual fund, has gone up 39,000% since what year? 1965. That's a long period of time, but 39,000%.
That's big money.
Is big money. Now, what has he done?
Berkshire Hathaway has gone up 5,502,000.
So I was way off.
284%.
Okay. So 5 million %. That's in 65. Now, of course, that's what, 60 years ago? But but if you started out at 25, you're doing that. You're probably not going to do as well as him, but you can do pretty good.
It says right now, since he's kind of like Peter Lynch, things have gotten so big that he probably can't give the kind of returns he
Yeah.
did in the past. But they're still good.
I'll take half. I'll take 2 million. Yeah. But 39% is just, that's just the standard stuff. And it's a matter of putting money away early, continue to put it away and leave it alone. Let it compound, let it grow. Okay, I got one more gift for you here, at least for, I don't know how many I got, but enough for at least one per family. So this is yeah, you can go ahead and pass those out. This is my wish, my personal wish. You can get these at any funeral home. So that's where I got these. I can get more, so if you need them. I recommend everybody fill these out. And you have all your information, all your passwords, all your desires for your heirs, so that if you died unexpectedly, which is usually the case, your family knows where all your stuff is. I don't know how many times I've run into situations where someone passes away and nobody knows where their money is. Nobody knows their passwords to anything. Nobody knows what they've got or what they owe. They know nothing. That happened with Marcia's parents. It was devastating, very difficult. I recommend you fill this thing out. and then put it in a place where at least one or two family members know where it is. Because there's no sense doing this and nobody knows you have it. Okay, so fill this out, put it in a drawer, put it in a safe, put it in something. Periodically you can change it. But don't expect that your family knows all these kinds of things about you. That did everybody, at least everyone per family? How many more do I need?